Technically they did, right? They know they're gonna be could have been a 5-win team, and normally, but there's 6 bowl spots eligible going into this weekend that they might have to dip down to that 5-win mark and go by APR. Iowa State was number 2 in the country in APR. That's their academic rating, and so they would have had a chance at a bowl game possibly with a win here. But they won't. Of course, the pundits won't talk about that. And the other thing is, I always get a kick out of that one, and we're for sure going to hear it. But go tell that to those guys in the locker room that they had nothing to play for over on this side. And, you better believe they came out. And this is just what it was. TCU's that much better. I mean, there's no, again, you might hear all these excuses and whatnot, but that's a well-coached football team on the other end. Obviously, didn't play well at all, but it was a formidable opponent that they, of course, just going to write off. As we look into this deal. The
and I believe we were doing some little preliminary research. I don't think a Matt Campbell Iowa State team has ever given up more than 50 points in a game.
Yep.
TCU rolled right past that and could have kept going. I mean, Max Duggan didn't even play the fourth quarter. So
TCU outscored every Iowa State opponent in the first half for the rest of the games. I mean, Iowa State have been holding everybody to their season lows, yardage, total yardage, points, everything. TCU at the half had 24 points and was just kind of steamrolling, doing whatever they wanted to do. And again, another display of TCU being versatile. Did all this through the air on the ground without their best player.
Without Quentin Johnston.
So you just talk about, so many guys stepping up. Savion, Darius Davis was there. We were worried, what capacity would he be in? He made a couple catches, but guys just roll the next guy in. And they're going to play. And, of course, when you're led by Max Duggan, who, again, we believe absolutely should be in New York, TCU has a chance to win every game. So today was no exception.
Yeah, and they did this against a Matt Campbell team. Like you said, hadn't given up more than 50 at Iowa State. In his entire career, this is a record. He had given up 58 once in his time against Toledo early on. So it's a record points. And they did all this. Quentin Johnston was out. Darius Davis, like you said, came back, for this week, and but wasn't at 100%. Not many guys are at this time of year. But you saw the freshman step up. Jordan Hudson had 2 touchdowns. Who's going to join us later on in the show? So make sure you stick around for that.
Amani Bailey.
Yeah, Amani Bailey, who we all knew. Honestly, Amani Bailey coming out of camp, many said might have had the best camp in the running back room. He just lit it up, and so they're 3 deep at that position at least. And so just starting to show some of the depth and the reason why they're primed for a postseason run.
Coach, we got to give you a pat on the back because who was your preseason offensive player of the game?
Yeah, it was Savion Williams.
Pre-game,
I got you. But he came through and he stepped up again. Another big moment. They went to him early, had the touchdown, but he had an incredible catch down the sideline, down their sideline there, where just uses his big body so well in shielding the defender and then really just using that wing there to kind of push off of him and legally, but did an amazing job there for him as well. So it's fun to see these different guys step up and goes back to the fact that they can beat you in so many ways. Yep.
And we had a ton of defensive players show up too, and we're going to talk about those when we get back, specifically Travius Hodges-Tomlinson.
Buffalo Bros, a TCU tradition before, after, or during the game. 39 TVs will never miss a down. We proudly
say hello to the water of tomorrow. Richard's Rainwater. Richard's Rainwater is 100% rain. Refreshing, renewable, and the only ingredient we use in our water. Why rain? Because everyone deserves access to clean water. And rain is a 100% renewable resource available everywhere. Drink the rain. Save the planet. Shop now at richardsrainwater.com.
Dave's Hot Chicken is a cult favorite and now has 2 locations in Fort Worth, Bryant Irvin Road on I-20 and Berry Street at TCU. Both owned and operated by Horned Frogs. Mention the Frogs Today show and get 10% off anytime and order online at daveshotchicken.com.
For exclusive interviews and content on TCU recruits, subscribe now at frogstoday.com. Any sport, anytime. It's your source for all things TCU. Only on frogstoday.com. The Flying T Club provides the everyday TCU fan and alum the ability to specifically support TCU student athletes. Flying T Club offers 3 levels of memberships. The Flying T Club is a nonprofit organization supporting the brand development of TCU student athletes through a series of unique event-based networking opportunities, which are exclusive to our members. These events provide a great social engagement tool for our members and student athletes alike. Follow them on Instagram at Flying T Club or online at flyingtclub.com.
Defense knowing exactly what to do today and exactly how to play. And boy, did they show up. First guy I want to talk about, Travius Hodges-Tomlinson, but I'm going to let the coaches talk about him. Coach, tell me about him. Tell me what he did.
Yeah, well, what he did was shut
I
down
heard his name.
Another big-time receiver. He had the one defensive pass interference. Of course, he doesn't think he has pass interference ever. On that one there, though, he has got a point. He did a great job shutting down another tall receiver, bigger guy. And he's just super physical at the line of scrimmage, and then is able to do that all the way down the field. So it was great to see him. He was jarring back and forth, but rightfully so. He had every right to talk that talk.
Absolutely, he did. And when we come back, we've got a very special guest, and we're going to continue this conversation later on.
Dave's Hot Chicken is a cult favorite and now has 2 locations in Fort Worth, Bryant Irvin Road on I-20 and Berry Street at TCU. Both owned and operated by Horned Frogs. Mention the Frogs Today show and get 10% off anytime. And order online at daveshotchicken.com.
The Flying T Club provides the everyday TCU fan and alum the ability to specifically support TCU student athletes. Flying T Club offers 3 levels of memberships. The Flying T Club is a nonprofit organization supporting the brand development of TCU student athletes through a series of unique event-based networking opportunities, which are exclusive to our members. These events provide a great social engagement tool for our members and student athletes alike. Follow them on Instagram at Flying T Club or online at flyingtclub.com.
Texas-based Happy Water offers the best-tasting, sugar-free kids drink ever made. Happy Water comes in 4 delicious flavors that you can find at local retailers and on Amazon. Each pouch contains 0 grams of sugar, 0 calories, and 0% juice. Head to happydrinks.com for more information and to purchase Happy Water. That's HAPIdrinks.com. Live happy. Be happy. Drink happy.
For exclusive interviews and content on TCU recruits, subscribe now at frogstoday.com. Any sport, anytime. It's your source for all things TCU. Only on frogstoday.com.
Welcome back into Frogs Today. Special Teams Mark Tarmadal, coach, with us. Coach, last week we saw an impressive field goal from Griffin Cowell. And it was the game winner, and everyone was talking about how could this have possibly happened. It looked so chaotic. Tell us a little bit about this, because we heard that you guys do this every Thursday.
Yeah, and it's true. Everything that Sonny said is true. So it's just, I don't mean to be nonchalant about it. It's just a play that we practice.
Yeah.
And so it's, I know it's dramatic because it happened at the end of the game. But we, like Sonny said, and it's true, we probably have run it 15 times so far. And you see, the first play of every Thursday script is exactly what you saw last week. The offense centers the ball, and we bring people on and off. And I know what it looks like, but to their credit, they handle it really well.
Yeah, I've been on that team plenty of times in my career in the NFL, and it's no joke. I made a comment to you after the game that the execution was impressive. It's nothing to be taken for granted at all. So.
Yeah, well, thanks. And again, I mean, you put that all in our players. You know, there's probably 3 or 4 guys on that unit. That's all they do, and so they were dead on it. And then obviously, I asked a lot of Griff to make that kick without taking the steps. And Jordy did a great job running the show. So it was, we're thankful for the way it turned out.
Absolutely. I would say the typical fan doesn't recognize special teams until something bad maybe happens. I live that life as an offensive lineman. They'll call you until something bad happens. But to me, that's a positive thing. So let's give people a little insight into the things you've seen when you first got here from special teams, from punt return, kick return, and the field goal unit. They've been exceptional. I mean, I'm not sure people fully understand the degree to which they've been executing this year.
First of all, I've lived that fight for about 39 years now. But no, I would say this to you. First of all, I mean this sincerely, we inherited a really good special teams mentality here. Gary Patterson and Danny Sharp laid a tremendous foundation. The expectations here were high. And I would say this to you. We have not performed at an elite level yet. When you look across all 6 units, it's been up and down, and pardon the cliche, but to say that we have played the perfect game yet, we haven't. And I think you'd agree with that.
Yeah. Going back to that kick, Coach, I think a lot of it to me, as you practice that every week, that's important. But I think the sense of urgency at which you practice it with, because I think everybody has it on their script just about, right? In some form or fashion, they have an emergency field goal. But a lot of times just players going through the motions, right? You're just kind of checking a box. For you, for everything we heard, the fact that you demand that at full speed and then more importantly, have the leaders and the maturity on the team to make sure to execute at full speed.
Yeah.
In practice, right? It's been a big deal.
Well, I mean, we have a clock on, and again, a lot of the leadership on that unit is Jordy. And the thing that I don't even know if I got noticed, but it seemed like we waited for a long time, and he's told to let the clock run down to 3, so there's no chance for kickoff after that. And so there was we all know the implications if somebody twitched. And again, I think that it's a great credit to our players that they just kept hanging in.
Nice. Yeah, I think I saw Jordy tonight, kind of jawing at another guy. It's fun to see a punter, get that fired up. I think it's got to be bode well for your special team.
Oh, no doubt. And again, he is a good football player, and he recognizes that. Plus, he's about 3 years younger than I am.
Coach, we know of course, as a coach, you're looking for improvement, and things have been up and down. But there has been, maybe you can disagree with this, but it seems like there's been a steady, overall, it's getting better each and every week, and there's more confidence. Tonight you had a 54-yard field goal. What do you think if that's true, if you feel that's true, what do you think the reason has been for that improvement throughout the year?
Well, yeah, and again, I would say the level of improvement is not the standard yet. It's not, and again, it's not to the standard that's been set here. It has nothing to do with me. I think that the improvement is just reps. So we're getting guys who are simply getting more experience, and that mentality kind of starts to spread.
Coach, I've heard a field goal kicking likened to a golf swing.
Yeah.
From guy to guy, that varies about their approach. But what have you seen from Griffin Kell since you've gotten here with him, and the things you guys talk about as far as mentality and like being as consistent as possible with his stroke?
Yeah, those guys work really hard at their craft. And your point is correct, that those guys all talk in golf terms, and I don't golf. And so it would be a lot, when they talk in terms of thick and thin and sliced, I have no idea. And so he and the rest of our specialists, they work really hard at their craft.
I love it.
Well, thank you so much
You
for
bet.
joining us.
Yeah,
And
we appreciate the
yes.
job that you're doing. It's a good time to be a Horn Frog.
Absolutely.
Thank
And
you.
we
Thank you.
appreciate you and your kickers out there, especially today and especially last week. And when we come back, we've got another special
All right,
guest.
good job. Thank you.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate you.
Say hello to the water of tomorrow. Richard's Rainwater. Richard's Rainwater is 100% rain, refreshing, renewable, and the only ingredient we use in our water. Why rain? Because everyone deserves access to clean water, and rain is a 100% renewable resource available everywhere. Drink the rain. Save the planet. Shop now at richardsrainwater.com.
Dave's Hot Chicken is a cult favorite and now has 2 locations in Fort Worth, Bryant Irvin Road on I-20 and Berry Street at TCU. Both owned and operated by Horned Frogs. Mention the Frogs Today show and get 10% off anytime, and order online at daveshotchicken.com.
For exclusive interviews and content on TCU recruits, subscribe now at frogstoday.com. Any sport, anytime. It's your source for all things TCU. Only on frogstoday.com. The Flying T Club provides the everyday TCU fan and alum the ability to specifically support TCU student athletes. Flying T Club offers 3 levels of memberships. The Flying T Club is a nonprofit organization supporting the brand development of TCU student athletes through a series of unique event-based networking opportunities, which are exclusive to our members. These events provide a great social engagement tool for our members and student athletes alike. Follow them on Instagram at Flying T Club or online at flyingtclub.com.
Welcome back into Frogs Today post-game show. TCU getting the win over Iowa State, getting the job done, getting to 12-0, and we've got Brian Carrington with us. So going to go ahead and start us out. Obviously, with being 12-0, recruiting is going to start heating up. What have you noticed in your side of things that have really changed for you guys since coming into 12-0 season?
What's really changed is, the spotlight, being under that national spotlight, giving guys an opportunity to see this product that we're producing has really been intriguing to a lot of prospects the past few weeks. And, let's just say a lot of kids that weren't answering the call are now answering the call.
TCU had, I would argue, one of the best transfer portal classes. Is that going to be kind of an emphasis moving forward along with recruiting guys straight out of high school?
Of course, the transfer portal is something that's unique to college football, something that's changing, something that's evolving. It's something that we have to really dive into. And, you don't want to hire mercenaries. You want to make sure that you get the right kid to come that fits the program, that fits, that's our right kind of guy to fit in our program. And I feel like we did a great job at that this past cycle in short notice. And, we're locked and loaded to go this winter.
You talk about finding the right fit and your kind of guys, and the transfer portal. A lot of people talk about kind of topping off the gas tank, right? And so, but in terms of recruiting out of high school, you have to balance that fine line of guys. All this hype and being 12-0, and guys that are just kind of on the fringe, maybe, and put your time and resources into the right ones. Guys that that you can land and that are truly a fit here at TCU.
Yeah, because college football is changing. So for the high school kids, December 4th is kind of like a crucial point to. Trying to jump in and commit somewhere versus afterwards, you got all these transfer portal kids coming out of their transfer portal. So for us, it's a strategy, and it's changing, but I just feel that, our philosophy of getting these kids up here on campus, discerning their character, giving them the opportunity to discern us as well is what allow us to be successful. Because I tell recruits a lot of time, like the logo can help you, but at the end of the day, it's about the people behind the logo. So them spending 48 hours in Funky Town getting around our people, that's the true testament of the program and the success that we're having right now.
For sure. And I just want to flip over because I know you also work with the receivers as well. And we talked earlier to Melissa Tribwasser was here, and we talked about the depth of this team at different positions. Certainly, with Jordan Hudson, who's coming up next, we're gonna have him on, but to have 2 touchdowns tonight, that's another position where you guys are just have so much depth. Is that part of your recruiting in terms of making sure that roster management goes into that as well, where you can take good guys and good players, but heck, we want to make sure that we get the right ones in terms of spots.
Yeah, roster management is important, but I'd be lying if I didn't say we inherited such a talented roster. So from a talent standpoint, I feel like our wide receiver room is the best in the Big 12. It's always been that way. So, us getting out here and, slinging some bullets around the yard is giving guys like Jordan another opportunity to showcase what he can do underneath the hood of, the face of who you see right now, Quentin Johnson and Savion Williams and so on.
To any recruits who might be watching right now, how would you kind of give them a little insight into how TCU is stacking up nationally? I mean, we're top 4, might move up on the field, but as far as recruiting and the optics and the perception of TCU, how do you think things have changed on that front?
Yeah, it's going to change because the stars are aligning. You look at the landscape of the Big 12, you got Texas and OU leaving the Big 12. There's no reason TCU shouldn't be the tier 1, the flagship school of the Big 12. And what I tell the recruits, this is the path of least resistance. You want to play an SEC program? Well, guess what? It's going to be 10, 11 wins to get in on the same field as TCU. So that's the selling point. That's the pitch.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And we saw those this season again with TCU, and we're excited to see where the rest of the season takes us because TCU is not done yet. Yeah. Thank you so much for joining us. And when we come back, we have Jordan Hudson.
I appreciate you.
Dave's Hot Chicken is a cult favorite and now has 2 locations in Fort Worth, Bryant Irvin Road on I-20 and Berry Street at TCU. Both owned and operated by Horned Frogs. Mention the Frogs Today show and get 10% off anytime. And order online at daveshotchicken.com.
The Flying T Club provides the everyday TCU fan and alum the ability to specifically support TCU student athletes. Flying T Club offers 3 levels of memberships. The Flying T Club is a nonprofit organization supporting the brand development of TCU student athletes through a series of unique event-based networking opportunities, which are exclusive to our members. These events provide a great social engagement tool for our members and student athletes alike. Follow them on Instagram at Flying T Club or online at flyingtclub.com.
Texas-based Happy Water offers the best-tasting, sugar-free kids drink ever made. Happy Water comes in 4 delicious flavors that you can find at local retailers and on Amazon. Each pouch contains 0 grams of sugar, 0 calories, and 0% juice. Head to happydrinks.com for more information and to purchase Happy Water. That's HAPIdrinks.com. Live happy, be happy, drink happy.
For exclusive interviews and content on TCU recruits, subscribe now at frogstoday.com. Any sport, anytime. It's your source for all things TCU. Only on frogstoday.com.
Welcome back into Frogs Today post-game show. TCU getting that victory. And Jordan, have yourself a day, man. 2 touchdowns. Walk me through this so you walk into today's game. And we've got a lot of national coverage on TCU at this point. You know this could be your 12th win. What is kind of going on in your head as you kind of just stay focused on this game in front of you? You know you've got a big one next week too.
Yeah. I mean, we just had to stay sturdy, like Kai's always said. Stick with the program. Don't do nothing different. That's it. That's all. That's what we go by, and that's the motto with the whole program.
It worked for you.
With guys like Quentin and Tay in the room, elder kind of presence. How have you guys grown throughout the season as far as the guys who are kind of rotational guys in between younger guys? How have you guys grown together?
I mean, it's just a big brotherhood. Like they really just mentor us and make sure that we know what we're doing when we do go in the game. And it's really like a big brother, little brother combination. And I mean, it's good for the whole program.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and talk a little bit more of those guys, Jordan. You're kind of really your understudy, right? And kind of passing the torch to a guy like you from Quentin Johnson down here, and you step up in a moment where he's out right now before the Big 12 championship. What is that mentorship like? What does that process look like when you go to those guys in situations, when you're trying to understand certain concepts?
I mean, it's really just communicating. We just have to communicate. If we don't know something, ask. They friendly guys. They helping. They willing to help, and it's really all. You just got to ask and communicate.
Yeah, it says a lot about, veteran leadership, where at a lot of places they're worried about, the competition aspect, and they don't want to do too much to help the younger guy out. It seems like this group here certainly, is able to do that.
I mean, it's a lot of competition in the room. We all have we all good. I mean, I feel like we all can play right now. But we just stay humble, stay grinded, and I mean, whoever Coach Kelly put out there, they gonna perform. I mean, and that's just how it is.
Give me your thoughts lastly on Coach Kelly. He's kind of I know him because I literally played like right when he was leaving Oklahoma, but since he's gotten here and he's been in y'all's room and leading the room, talked about the relationship a little bit with Coach Malcolm Kelly.
I mean, he's just a heck of a dude. I mean, he's a big mentor, and he's like a big brother to us. I mean, we sit in the meeting room and laugh and joke, and we actually be rapping in the meeting room sometimes.
How many times did he show his freestyle?
Nah, he only do his freestyle one time a year, dog. One time a year, that's all. He give us one freestyle after year, and he tell us he ain't rapping no more. But
can we get a little one from you right now? Can I put you on the spot right now?
I don't really be. Come
on, you had a good game. Come on, you can give it to us.
I don't really be freestyling.
No, it's okay.
I can't really rhyme like that.
Can play football, but can't freestyle. All right. Yeah. And we've got another special guest when we come back. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Say hello to the water of tomorrow. Richard's Rainwater. Richard's Rainwater is 100% rain, refreshing, renewable, and the only ingredient we use in our water. Why rain? Because everyone deserves access to clean water, and rain is a 100% renewable resource available everywhere. Drink the rain. Save the planet. Shop now at richardsrainwater.com.
Dave's Hot Chicken is a cult favorite and now has 2 locations in Fort Worth. Bryant Irvin Road on I-20 and Berry Street at TCU. Both owned and operated by Horned Frogs. Mention the Frogs Today show and get 10% off anytime. And order online at daveshotchicken.com.
For exclusive interviews and content on TCU recruits, subscribe now at frogstoday.com. Any sport, anytime. It's your source for all things TCU. Only on frogstoday.com. The Flying T Club provides the everyday TCU fan and alum the ability to specifically support TCU student athletes. Flying T Club offers 3 levels of memberships. The Flying T Club is a nonprofit organization supporting the brand development of TCU student athletes through a series of unique event-based networking opportunities, which are exclusive to our members. These events provide a great social engagement tool for our members and student athletes alike. Follow them on Instagram at Flying T Club or online at flyingtclub.com.
Welcome back into Frogs Today post-game show. Jamoy Hodge with us here now, changing up a little bit. Going to go ahead and send it over to Dave. Dave, let us hear your first question.
Well, I think, Jamoy, looking at this defense coming in during camp, right, we all look to you guys just kind of learning it, right, and figuring it out. And What do you think the biggest reason is the steady improvement throughout the year for this defense? We've seen now really 4 linebackers for those 3 stat guys that have come in and doing a tremendous job. When D. Winters time out, right, and Chadwick Banks came in and did a heck of a job. What do you think the biggest reason? Just kind of you guys have gelled and clearly, have found it and put it all together.
I really think the big reason is just that we got a lot of competition, so everybody trying to be great. And then we also we help each other out and push each other every day. We don't never let none of our linebackers slack. We'll meet on Mondays and stuff, watch film all together as a group without the coaches. So we really make sure everybody know what they're doing.
Wow,
don't leave nobody behind.
That's impressive. So you guys on Monday. So
That's
for those at home,
day.
It's their off day, but it doesn't sound like it's an off day for you guys. And so you've got, as a group, you decided to do that on your own.
Yeah, we'll come in and we always meet at 9:00 every Monday and stuff as a linebacker group, and we'll go ahead and watch film on the next opponent and go ahead and get an early start.
I'll tell you what, as a coach, it might be one of the best things I've ever heard. I'm not gonna lie, that fires
He's
me
gonna
up.
cry off camera now.
That's right.
I mean, there's guys in the pros that don't do that, so that's very impressive. I was there after the UT game. Talk to me a little bit about the impact that Coach Gillespie has had on you, especially in the linebacker room. A lot of transfers in that room, a lot of guys who've kind of come and gone or, come from other programs. Talk about his impact on you guys as a group.
He did a really big impact because you see he's not really like a screamer. He's a great coach. Like, he going to come to the sideline. He going to say what went wrong, what you did wrong, and how to fix it. He's not going to yell at you or nothing. He's just going to correct it. And then we go out on the field and correct it.
Absolutely. It's that simple sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And kind of the national conversation. I know you've probably heard it or maybe not. I don't know. Keeping your ears shut, as should be. Earlier today, they were talking about how they haven't seen TCU play a full game of offense or a full game of defense. What do you think today's game shows them?
I still don't think it's one of our best games.
You
we
don't
played.
think so?
No, I feel like we can go way better than we did.
Well, I love to
I
hear
want to
that.
be a goose egg, and when we put up like 60 more points, I had them 0, don't give up nothing the whole game.
So you still had some left in the tank there.
Nah, I mean, I
Not
emptied the
there.
tank, nah.
No.
But we still made a couple
Maybe another
mistakes.
time.
Yeah, we still made a couple mistakes early on. You saw a couple big plays and stuff when we got up a little bit. So I don't think it's nowhere near our best game. We still got a lot better to do, a lot of work to do.
It's no surprise you have so much success when you sit here and tell me that on your off day you guys come in and meet together. You win a game 62-14. You say, hey, we could play a lot better. The success is not on accident, right? When you hear things like that. So congrats to you for this season so far. I know you got a long way to go still, but for what you and this defense has done. It's been fun to watch.
Absolutely. Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us. And when we come back, we've got another guest.
Dave's Hot Chicken is a cult favorite and now has 2 locations in Fort Worth, Bryant Irvin Road on I-20 and Berry Street at TCU. Both owned and operated by Horned Frogs. Mention the Frogs Today show and get 10% off anytime and order online at daveshotchicken.com.
The Flying T Club provides the everyday TCU fan and alum the ability to specifically support TCU student athletes. Flying T Club offers 3 levels of memberships. The Flying T Club is a nonprofit organization supporting the brand development of TCU student athletes through a series of unique event-based networking opportunities, which are exclusive to our members. These events provide a great social engagement tool for our members and student athletes alike. Follow them on Instagram at Flying T Club or online at flyingtclub.com.
Texas-based Happy Water offers the best-tasting, sugar-free kids drink ever made. Happy Water comes in 4 delicious flavors that you can find at local retailers and on Amazon. Each pouch contains 0 grams of sugar, 0 calories, and 0% juice. Head to happydrinks.com for more information and to purchase Happy Water. That's HAPIDrinks.com. Live happy, be happy, drink happy.
For exclusive interviews and content on TCU recruits, subscribe now at frogstoday.com. Any sport, anytime. It's your source for all things TCU. Only on frogstoday.com.
Welcome back into Frogs Today post-game show. We've got our man, Steve, as Dave likes to call him, Hollywood Steve. You know he's got his own show now. He's might be better at this than us, but Steve, you guys had a great game today.
Thank you.
Talk
Thank
to
you
me
so
a little bit about how you're staying focused this late in the season.
I mean, we just look back at, the goals we had set for ourselves, and we just taking every game one step at a time. I feel like that's the key to it. We have a good group of guys. They're focused on the goal. And all this just takes me back to, one of the things that Coach Cobbs would say was like, what do we do here? And he kept saying that for like weeks. I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. And then he finally was like, we win championships. And it's just amazing just to see, all of this come to, it's true, So hopefully next week we'll come in with the same mindset we did today and achieve our goals.
Absolutely.
Leading up this week, we heard so much about Iowa State's defense. I mean, rightfully so. They had played every team tough despite their record, top 10 in the country, tops in the Big 12. What was the mentality from an offensive line standpoint about how you guys were approaching the game? Maybe a little schematically, more from an attitude standpoint.
We just wanted to start fast. We've kind of struggled doing that, the past couple of weeks. I know y'all talked about, having a full game, which I don't feel like we have.
That's good to hear, man.
I will say,
now.
I did feel like we start fast. We kind of lulled off there in the middle, but we kept our foot on the gas, and the result, as you can see, on the scoreboard. So
it was good. It was decent.
How much was playing against a similar front than you've seen all through camp and having that familiarity? How much does that play into tonight and be able to block these guys?
I mean, it was coach, our offensive line coach, told us, we've seen this front. Yeah, we've seen this front, all of camp. It should just, be familiar with us. But also watching film, just watching the tendencies of all the guys and what they do, and I feel like we did a good job in that aspect. They're a good defensive front. So I mean, I feel like we did a good job at containing a lot of their superstars. So
yeah, for sure, I agree, and you talked earlier about just making sure that you stayed focused and that it's kind of you knew this time would come, but it doesn't happen without leaders like yourself. When we talked to Alon Ali a few weeks ago, his leadership style for the offensive line is more kind of rigid, hard nosed, and doesn't crack a smile during things. He talked about you in the way what you brought to the room, and that was kind of just allowing everybody to take a breath and have a little bit of fun, right? Because at the end of the day, you got to enjoy what you're doing and celebrate success.
Sure.
Because is that always just been you being you when it comes to that leadership style?
Yeah, I mean, I don't really like to give guys a hard time, let's say, if they mess up. I mean, they know they messed up, but I try to get everybody focused back, have their head back in the game, and I feel like that's just the type of guy I am. I feel like for myself too, if I messed up, I know I just you got to get back in there, and I just feel like that's what leaders do. They can coordinate people and tell them what they need to hear, and let's go.
We're 12-0. Still a lot left on the plate. Speaking of plates, what was your favorite moment from Thanksgiving dinner? Give us one of your favorite dishes.
Okay, so that was a good connection. But
my segue is next to none.
I am a big mashed potato guy. I am a big dressing. I don't know why people call it stuffing. I am. And I'm a ham guy, so that was all that was on my plate.
Okay.
I had a lot of gravy on that too. So
I love it.
You go with the staples. Basically.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Right.
I don't delve into collard greens.
No
casserole.
none of that stuff. Okay.
What about dessert?
See, I'm not a Thanksgiving dessert guy. I just
What?
like chocolate cake is
All right.
Okay.
simple. Yams,
Simple.
nasty.
Yeah.
Sweet potatoes,
Okay.
nasty.
Stop
Sorry,
talking. Stop talking,
I
man.
will.
You're-
I'm
yeah,
sorry.
You're doing well there. You're doing well.
Steve just turned controversial.
I
Steve.
did.
So
I'm
before
sorry.
we make him the most hated man on this show, we're gonna go ahead and let him go. Thank you so
Yeah.
much for
Thank
joining
you
us
guys for
today.
having me. Thank you.
Congrats on the win.
Say hello to the water of tomorrow. Richard's Rainwater. Richard's Rainwater is 100% rain, refreshing, renewable, and the only ingredient we use in our water. Why rain? Because everyone deserves access to clean water, and rain is a 100% renewable resource available everywhere. Drink the rain. Save the planet. Shop now at richardsrainwater.com.
Dave's Hot Chicken is a cult favorite and now has 2 locations in Fort Worth, Bryant Irvin Road on I-20 and Berry Street at TCU. Both owned and operated by Horned Frogs. Mention the Frogs Today show and get 10% off anytime and order online at daveshotchicken.com.
For exclusive interviews and content on TCU recruits, subscribe now at frogstoday.com. Any sport, anytime. It's your source for all things TCU. Only on frogstoday.com. The Flying T Club provides the everyday TCU fan and alum the ability to specifically support TCU student athletes. Flying T Club offers 3 levels of memberships. The Flying T Club is a nonprofit organization supporting the brand development of TCU student athletes through a series of unique event-based networking opportunities, which are exclusive to our members. These events provide a great social engagement tool for our members and student athletes alike. Follow them on Instagram at Flying T Club or online at flyingtclub.com.
Welcome back into Frogs Today post-game show, and we've got Melissa back with us. We're going to go ahead and continue that defensive conversation that we started a little bit earlier. So we left off with Travius Hodges-Tomlinson. Anyone have anything else to add before we move on?
People are going to continue. He's an undersized corner, but completely capable. There's a reason he's getting buzz for the NFL, but guys just don't believe that he's a player, and he's going to continue to show them that he's a player. So, they're going to challenge him, and he continues to step up, rise to the challenge. He's a physical guy for his stature, and we saw the ref let him play a little bit. He can use that physicality to his advantage, and I think he took away some of their best pass catchers today. He continue to do that, but I think people are going to continue to try him, and that's okay. I think we've had him on the show before. I think his mentality is geared for that, and so again, he showed up today. He's a big reason why TCU's defense is where it's at and produces the way it does. So, big props to him.
And if you do try to avoid him, then you got to deal with Josh Newton.
Of course.
You got to pick 6 today. You got to deal with Bud Clark, who's been super outstanding. You've got to deal with Millard Bradford, who had a pick 6 today. It's been the secondary, I think, was pretty maligned early on in the season, but over the last few games, I think you can really see them getting comfortable in Joe Gillespie's system. And not only are they making the plays they need to make, but they're making impactful plays. I mean, 14 points from your defense plus Keon Stewart forced the fumble as well. That's a lot of big plays out of that secondary.
Yeah, I think having all back healthy, right? I mean, because you said there was, it'd be kind of in that puzzle piece. There was a piece missing each and every week, right, with guys going down or at least being banged up. And so now they got some continuity. They're playing together. They can roll in some fresh guys at times. And I think they've really done a nice job. Obviously, we saw it tonight with the pick 6s and the pass defense. But I've been most impressed with, fitting the run. And in this defense, you have to have safeties that can do that arrive at the line of scrimmage, and they do so, with a purpose. And these guys have done that time and time again. And we've seen that now in the last few weeks when you see all these tight ends, right? You see these playing with multiple tight ends. Although tonight I was surprised Iowa State went to more of a spread run to try and create kind of a thinner box. It didn't go so well for them early on. But I think that's been big for these safeties as well, is their run defense.
And not just fitting the run, making open field tackles. A lot of times one-on-one tackles where if you miss, if you whiff, if you slip, that's an explosive gain, maybe a touchdown. So there's a lot of pressure on those guys. And I equate them a little bit to the offensive line. In this
of
defense,
course you do.
Of course, it's never be far from that. But specifically in this defense,
bias? I can't tell.
Specifically in this defense, there's 5 defensive backs, sometimes 6, but they are all on a string. They have to work together. They have to communicate. And having, like you said, one guy out here, one guy out there, that impacts that a little bit. So having them all together, playing as one, communicating, it's a big difference. You can see just how much on the string they are, the plays that they can make together, and the support they bring. And again, there are going to be teams that continue to challenge this team on the run game. They're going to have to fit. They're going to have to be tough. They're going to have to get off blocks, and they're going to have to make open field tackles. And they've shown us that they can do that over and over again. And now we're going into the 13th game of the season, the Big 12 championship. It's not going to be any different. They're going to have to continue to show up.
What do you think this defense kind of means? What did it kind of say about this team as we go into next week?
I would say just adaptation. So we cannot forget, it cannot be stressed enough that this is a brand new, completely different style of defense, type of defense. Was aggressive. It is now a little bit it's not passive, but it is more laid back. It's more clouds over, watching and then attacking.
Come find out.
Yeah, absolutely. And then again, from a schematic standpoint, it's 3 down linemen instead of 4. It's 3 linebackers instead of 2. It's 5 DBs, which TCU had a variation of. There's a lot of hybrid guys, but it is a completely different thing, different jargon, different coach, different system. And you've seen week after week after week, you just can't take it for granted that it's a new language that you're having to learn. It's a language that you're having to then translate in your head and then make your body go do fast and do it without doubt and without hesitation. So we see these guys have gotten comfortable more and more and more as seasons goes on. They're getting healthier. They're playing with each other. They're playing with confidence that they've earned. They're playing opposite of an offense that they know can put up points, can put them in great positions, and so a lot of things are just coming to the surface, scratching the surface of what this defense can be. It's been middle of the pack in the NCAA all year, in the 60s, 70s, maybe dipped down in the 50s as far as their rating, yards given up, points given up, but they don't play to that level. They play a little bit higher than that to me, and I think they're continuing to improve.
Yeah, and I think it fits the cliche of this time of year that, the whole defensive, wins championship kind of thing. But you go into championship season and into this postseason, you better have a defense playing at this level, and TCU does right now. But I also think it kind of bucks the trend, if it hasn't happened already, for the Big 12 of, things have. It's amazing to watch this, this shift throughout the league, right? Teams started playing with more and more. I keep going back to tight ends, but that started back with with Oklahoma when they went. It's kind of they changed offensively back with Lincoln Riley as the offensive coordinator at the time. It really started there, and then more and more teams started playing with multiple tight ends. And then to defend that, they had to get heavier personnel. So I think gone are the days where you see a Big 12 with just, the championship having, high explosive offense and a defense that's just trying to, hang on. That's right. And this is and I think that really helps when you start going against, whether it's an SEC program or something else. I think you're in much better position nowadays as you were in the past if the playoffs were, had a Big 12 representative in the past, right? Which we all know. We're not going to go down that. We don't have a show be here all night. But
well, I think you got to give a lot of credit to the linebackers today too. We saw Johnny Hodges get banged up in the first half, but the way that Jamoy Hodge and Shad Banks and D. Winters once again just consistently has been excellent, especially over these last few weeks. There's a lot of maturity in that group.
Yes,
they hit different. Shad Banks, just when he hits somebody square on, it sounds different.
Shad Banks, kickoff returner as well. Yeah, it's just kind of crazy to think. You see a number 19 back there. Yeah. It's not a linebacker number, but we know it's Shad Banks, and you're like, he's a linebacker. He's returning kicks.
252 pounds,
yeah,
right?
It's kind of crazy. It's weird, but he's that there.
But I think ultimately, like you guys were saying, is that we're seeing TCU get the understanding, start to get into the system, get the terminology, start to play as a unit, the one of 11, each guy doing their job. And they're playing their best football as November comes to a close with, their potentially 2 most important games, 3 potentially most important games remaining on their schedule. After how much flack that Sonny Dykes has taken for his November record, he's going to finish this month unblemished. And with a team, based on what we saw tonight, based on what we've seen the last couple of weeks, that is playing with a lot of confidence, that's playing with a lot of understanding, and looks like they have something to prove, despite the fact that they're 12-0. What better scenario could you ask for as a head coach to be undefeated, number 4 in the country, and have a bunch of guys who, truthfully, feel like nobody believes in them because they're still hearing it from everywhere else that nobody believes in them.
In his first season. In his first season.
We just had multiple players just, without any coercing or anything, are like, still haven't played our best.
Right.
They still see so much left in the tank, and that's just an incredible mindset to have with the team this late in the season, undefeated. They could easily rest on laurels, and it does not sound like they're doing that anytime soon.
It feels very genuine, too.
It's
not coach. These guys have not been media trained to tell us what we need to hear, but they are playing like they have something to prove every single night. And,
absolutely.
And I think we saw that when TCU lined up towards the end of the half, and it was 4th down, and there was the officiating, which maybe we can consider questionable.
Bad.
Okay, we'll call it bad.
In that sense was bad, yes.
And then they come out after they score that touchdown for the 4th time, I think, on that drive. And go for a 2-point conversion.
Right.
This is not a deal down inside the 20 when you're number 3 in the country in 2014. This is we want to show you, we want to make a statement. We have something to prove. And anytime we've got the national audience, we're going to go out to prove it.
It's true.
Absolutely. And we saw him do that today.
Yes.
We absolutely did. And don't go anywhere. When we come back, John Denton joining us.
Dave's Hot Chicken is a cult favorite and now has 2 locations in Fort Worth, Bryant Irvin Road on I-20 and Berry Street at TCU. Both owned and operated by Horned Frogs. Mention the Frogs Today show and get 10% off anytime. And order online at daveshotchicken.com.
The Flying T Club provides the everyday TCU fan and alum the ability to specifically support TCU student athletes. Flying T Club offers 3 levels of memberships. The Flying T Club is a nonprofit organization supporting the brand development of TCU student athletes through a series of unique event-based networking opportunities, which are exclusive to our members. These events provide a great social engagement tool for our members and student athletes alike. Follow them on Instagram at Flying T Club or online at flyingtclub.com.
Texas-based Happy Water offers the best-tasting, sugar-free kids drink ever made. Happy Water comes in 4 delicious flavors that you can find at local retailers and on Amazon. Each pouch contains 0 grams of sugar, 0 calories, and 0% juice. Head to happydrinks.com for more information and to purchase Happy Water. That's HAPIdrinks.com. Live happy, be happy, drink happy.
For exclusive interviews and content on TCU recruits, subscribe now at frogstoday.com. Any sport, anytime. It's your source for all things TCU. Only on frogstoday.com.
Welcome back to Frogs Today post-game show. John Denton, the man of the hour in his final TCU game to radio call here at Carter Stadium. John, how was it? I mean, first reaction.
It was great. I tell you what, it's after all these years, I mean, it's always fun on game day. And I got to tell you, I mean, they pulled a few fast ones on me tonight. I wasn't expecting the thing in the fourth quarter. And, you know, Estridge had apparently planned a well-planned ambush.
Oh,
I mean, there are people coming by the booth and had all my favorite songs as bumper music coming back on the network. And my family was up there with me. And, I mean, you know, every time I turn around, Bill Coates, who actually got me involved in the network back in 1988, my first game working the network was with him at Georgia in 1988. And all of a sudden he shows up. We probably worked 100 games together over the years, and it was pretty neat. I had just, you know, he was on the air with us, and Brian and I mean, you know, all of a sudden you've got, like, you know, your broadcasting life, you know, passing before your eyes. So it was really neat. It was a neat experience, and even better, the Frogs jumped out to a big lead, and it was, you know, from halftime on, it was kind of a party. So a lot of fun.
Just a little smooth sailing.
Yes, it was good. Good to see the Frogs get out to a good start. And we were talking during the break. I'm impressed with this football team, just the way they take things one game at a time, and they don't get too excited. And, you know, it's a beat up bunch right now. I mean, there are going to be a lot of guys in the training room this week, probably more so than on the practice field. But the thing that I'm really amazed, after the fist fight they were in Austin 2 weeks ago, what they went through last week emotionally. So you had a physical game in Austin where you really had to, you know, stand up muscle to muscle, and then the emotional win last week, squeaking it out against Baylor. And then for them to come out tonight and have the energy that they had, it was unbelievable. It really is. And, you know, Frogs got a little help around the country today.
Yeah.
So I would hope that the committee sees that 62 and says, okay, number 3, maybe number 2. We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah.
Depends on how generous they're feeling.
Yeah.
Honored to be here with John Denton, TCU's radio personality, after his final call, or excuse me, his final home game call for football. Yes,
right.
for this
Not
football
make you
team.
tired too early.
We've got 3 more games to play.
That's right.
There
That's
we
right.
go.
Yes,
There
sir.
we
And so, look, I wanted to ask this. I'm just kind of curious. You talked about tonight they snuck in your favorite songs on those bumpers. You didn't know about it, but at any point in the game, so for those at home, I think Brian Estridge talked with your wife and got all your favorite songs, had the bumpers in and out of every break throughout the radio broadcast. Was there any point that where it clicked, you realized something was up, or did they have to tell you?
Well, you know, we all know that Estridge is kind of leaning toward classic country and some of the new country stuff. And when our bed music for the open is the Who Eminence Front from 1983, I'm thinking
Your eyebrow goes up a little bit.
okay,
Yeah.
well, you know, is he getting dramatic here? Maybe he's broadening his palette a little bit. But then early first quarter, we come back from break, and it's the Cars. Okay, let's go. Okay, I know Estridge would never play the Cars on any of our broadcasts. I mean, he's not in that. Then we had Stones, and we had the Beatles, and all these groups that he knows I like, and he's given me a hard time about, you know, through the years when we'd travel. I'm like, hey, don't change the station. He goes, no, I'm not listening to that. Well, tonight it was all my favorite stuff. So after I heard the Cars, I'm thinking, all right, he's got something up his sleeve.
Well, you've been a fixture in my relationship with TCU, even back to when I was listening, you know, to radio calls before there was ever a thought that I'd come and play here. Give me a couple of your most fond memories in the booth either with Brian or without Brian, games, moments. Give me a couple that stand out over your long, illustrious career.
Well, your mind first goes back to great games, and we've had a lot of great games. I mean, back in the early '90s, TCU was kind of climbing out when I first started on the network in '88. TCU was still kind of digging out from what we call the living death penalty, where they gave up all the scholarships. They lost 15 scholarships a year for 3 years, and trying to get back into it. And 94 right here, Thanksgiving weekend, the Frogs beat Texas Tech to tie for the Southwest Conference Championship, which was unheard of. I mean, in 1994, they tied for the conference championship, first championship, I think, since like 58 or 59. Wow. Pretty phenomenal. And then, first time I ever cried on the air was in El Paso at the Sun Bowl when the Frogs just came out and took USC. It to USC and jumped on them quickly. And I give J.W. Wilson and Sean Worthen. I always see them. I introduce them as the guys that made Carson Palmer cry, because I think they sacked him like 6 times.
Oh, man.
So, and then, of course, you fast forward. One of the greatest games that Brian and I ever worked was the Utah game in Salt Lake City in 08, which was a heartbreaker.
Yeah.
I mean, the longest, quietest, saddest, that was a game that the Frogs controlled the entire game and get beat right at the end of the game on a slant pass. I can still see it. And it was just sad, because the Frogs should have been in the Sugar Bowl playing Alabama. Yeah. And instead it was Utah, and they ran Alabama out. And then, you get Fiesta Bowl. I mean, the teams that you played on, Marshall, that were really solid teams. I mean, very physical football teams. And, at the end of the game, you're throwing into the end zone to try to tie Boise. And then that really kind of set the table for the next year at the Rose Bowl, which is still unbelievable. I still, every now and again, I'll just throw that one in the old DVD. Yeah, I'm old like that. I still got a DVD player. Throw that one in there. And then what's been done, the last 10, 12 years. I mean, that game got us into the Big 12. And then what's been able to happen here, especially the last 20 years with all the 10-win seasons. Yeah. Really phenomenal. Now, kind of off-air stuff. In 2002, we are at Northwestern. Second game of the year, first road game of the year.
Remember now, this is family programming.
No, it is.
Just want to remind you. Okay.
This is all G-rated.
Okay, good.
But you want a really good one on Estridge, and this just tells you how good a play-by-play guy
we do.
is. Okay? We do. So we're in the press box at Northwestern. Frogs are, Casey Printers was the quarterback, and pretty good team. We're in the middle of the game. Now, in the press box at Northwestern, they had these big gulp cups, okay? And you could fill them up with whatever you want, but they didn't have any lids, all right? So Estridge has got him a big gulp cup right on the counter there, and he's got his charts and everything. And he gets his headset cord tangled up in the big gulp cup, okay? I don't have, it's a
Couldn't
quart.
have seen that coming.
It's a quart.
Yeah.
He's got on khaki pants, okay? And the Frogs are probably at the Northwestern 15-yard line, and somewhere there's this cut. But all of a sudden you hear this, here's gun, back to throw, rolls out, and you hear this, and he knocks over the big gulp cup in the middle of the play.
Oh, man.
All over him.
Oh, no.
And Estridge continues to call the play while he's getting out of his jeans, okay? And by the end of the play, Guns scrambled around, reverse field, got down to about the Northwestern 2-yard line where he's run out of bounds. And he goes, "That is unbelievable. What do you think of that, John?" I said, "That's one hell of an escape." And I just looked at him. But he was out of his pants by the end of the play. And then while we're setting up the next play, there's a equipment rack out in front of the windows. He lays his pants out in the sun to dry and calls the rest of the first half in his underwear.
Oh, man.
A little behind the scene.
A true pro, ladies and gentlemen.
Football.
True pro.
Yeah.
Look, in your 34 years, a distinguished career, hopefully most of the time with pants on, where is, obviously the record
Me always.
Yeah, that's right. Oh, well, good. The record speaks for itself with this team, obviously. But where does this team, you think, stack up against all the, good and somewhat, some teams not so good over the years? But where does this one stack up for you? In the early
2000s, one of the best teams TCU ever had that not a lot of people saw was the 02 team. That was really good in Conference USA. Went on to win the the Liberty Bowl against Colorado State. Really good defensive team. I think one of the underrated teams, or because of the way it ended your senior year, the Fiesta Bowl team, Marshall, was really, really good. I mean, just offensive weapons and a really good team that ran into a tough Boise State team that they'd played a year before in the bowl. But Rose Bowl is always going to be epic and historic because it showed that TCU belonged with the big boys, but it also, that's what really, that punched the ticket to TCU getting into the Big 12. When that happened, you go toe to toe with a team like Wisconsin and you win. That's huge and always will be. But what's at stake here and what's been at stake the last 2 or 3 weeks for this team and this program in the football playoff era now, this is epic what's going on right now. And Frogs have pretty much punched their ticket here. We're going to find out, who they'll end up playing with next week or playing against next week. But I think for what's on the line and the path to a national championship, it's no guessing. You get in the playoff and then it's on. Yeah. And I think what this team has done is proven that it belongs and it's well positioned to take that step. But next week, and as Sonny has done week in, week out, he's focused them on the work at hand. And what I like about this team is it concentrates on execution, not result. Mm-hmm. Yep. And I think a lot of times teams can get over their skis and they're worried about what the scoreboard says. This team comes to play football every week. Yeah. And I think that's going to be a key next week. And if they're fortunate enough to win and go on into the playoff, I think this is a team to be reckoned with.
Absolutely.
Well, I think we got some folks want to come in here to send you the proper thank you.
Absolutely. Much deserved.
Thank you, John Denton.
Thank you.
Hey, you know what's dangerous? A lot of these people can tell stories about me, so I think we need to go to break before they start talking.
True leverage.
Well, we just want to thank you for all you've given to this community, TCU community, and everyone that's listening. I know I speak for a lot of people when I say enjoyed it every step of the way.
Well, it's been a labor of love, and it's hard to believe that it's starting to come to an end. But there's a lot of talent in and around the network, and it's time for some other guys to step up, and I'm looking forward to every now and again, after I've been at a tailgate, sneak up to the booth and flick somebody on the back of the ear or throw peanuts at them like they do me. That's going to be a lot of fun, but we still got work to do.
Yes, sir, absolutely.
Thank you so much for joining us. And when we come back, we're closing out the show.
All right.
Dave's Hot Chicken is a cult favorite and now has 2 locations in Fort Worth, Bryant Irvin Road on I-20 and Berry Street at TCU. Both owned and operated by Horned Frogs. Mention the Frogs Today show and get 10% off anytime. And order online at daveshotchicken.com.
The Flying T Club provides the everyday TCU fan and alum the ability to specifically support TCU student athletes. Flying T Club offers 3 levels of memberships. The Flying T Club is a nonprofit organization supporting the brand development of TCU student athletes through a series of unique event-based networking opportunities, which are exclusive to our members. These events provide a great social engagement tool for our members and student athletes alike. Follow them on Instagram at Flying T Club or online at flyingtclub.com.
Texas-based Happy Water offers the best-tasting, sugar-free kids drink ever made. Happy Water comes in 4 delicious flavors that you can find at local retailers and on Amazon. Each pouch contains 0 grams of sugar, 0 calories, and 0% juice. Head to happydrinks.com for more information and to purchase Happy Water. That's HAPIdrinks.com. Live happy. Be happy. Drink happy.
For exclusive interviews and content on TCU recruits, subscribe now at frogstoday.com. Any sport, anytime. It's your source for all things TCU. Only on frogstoday.com.
Say hello to the water of tomorrow. Richard's Rainwater. Richard's Rainwater is 100% rain. Refreshing, renewable, and the only ingredient we use in our water. Why rain? Because everyone deserves access to clean water, and rain is a 100% renewable resource available everywhere. Drink the rain. Save the planet. Shop now at richardsrainwater.com.
Dave's Hot Chicken is a cult favorite and now has 2 locations in Fort Worth, Bryant Irvin Road on I-20 and Berry Street at TCU. Both owned and operated by Horned Frogs. Mention the Frogs Today show and get 10% off anytime and order online at daveshotchicken.com.
For exclusive interviews and content on TCU recruits, subscribe now at frogstoday.com. Any sport, anytime. It's your source for all things TCU. Only on frogstoday.com. The Flying T Club provides the everyday TCU fan and alum the ability to specifically support TCU student athletes. Flying T Club offers 3 levels of memberships. The Flying T Club is a nonprofit organization supporting the brand development of TCU student athletes through a series of unique event-based networking opportunities, which are exclusive to our members. These events provide a great social engagement tool for our members and student athletes alike. Follow them on Instagram at Flying T Club or online at flyingtclub.com.
Dave's Hot Chicken is a cult favorite and now has 2 locations in Fort Worth, Bryant Irvin Road on I-20 and Berry Street at TCU. Both owned and operated by Horned Frogs. Mention the Frogs Today show and get 10% off anytime and order online at daveshotchicken.com.
The Flying T Club provides the everyday TCU fan and alum the ability to specifically support TCU student athletes. Flying T Club offers 3 levels of memberships. The Flying T Club is a nonprofit organization supporting the brand development of TCU student athletes through a series of unique event-based networking opportunities, which are exclusive to our members. These events provide a great social engagement tool for our members and student athletes alike. Follow them on Instagram at Flying T Club or online at flyingtclub.com.
Texas-based Happy Water offers the best-tasting, sugar-free kids drink ever made. Happy Water comes in 4 delicious flavors that you can find at local retailers and on Amazon. Each pouch contains 0 grams of sugar, 0 calories, and 0% juice. Head to happydrinks.com for more information and to purchase Happy Water. That's HAPIDrinks.com. Live happy. Be happy. Drink happy.
For exclusive interviews and content on TCU recruits, subscribe now at frogstoday.com. Any sport, anytime. It's your source for all things TCU. Only on frogstoday.com.
Welcome back into Frogs Today post-game show. We've had a ton of special guests today. It's not a special guest. It's just Jamie. And I've got just one more question for you guys. I know I've asked a ton of questions today. If we could choose who we want to play, should it be Kansas State or should it be Texas in the Big 12 championship game?
Yeah, I mean, I think the guys in the locker room would say Kansas State. I would agree with that sentiment. But, again, this team is so locked in on just playing who's in front of them. It doesn't really matter. But I personally, I think Kansas State, we got a, kind of a surprise addition to that game with the quarterback being hurt. To me, that says a lot about how that game went. They're still a formidable team as we're sitting here today. Right now, they're up on Kansas. But I still think TCU matches up very well against them. And I think TCU has something more to prove. I absolutely do.
Yeah, for me, I agree with you when you say the players, they're just, hey, line up, whoever it is, man, let's line up and go. For me, Texas, and the reason is if you listen to the national pundits after the 1-point loss to Alabama, they talked about Texas like they were the 85 Bears, right? I mean, it was after a loss, right? And so to me, I look at this thing and I say, okay, what's going to carry more weight on a national level? Now, if you win, it doesn't matter because you're in. But when you start getting that discussion of whether it's 3 or 4 to kind of hold on to that, if they do get bumped up to the 3 spot this week, which we anticipate, do they hold on with a win over the anointed Texas Longhorns? I think that gives that national things. They can kind of really shut those guys up with a win there.
Yeah, I think there's something to that debate about beating a blue blood a second time and adding that to the resume. On the other side of that argument, though, with Oregon losing today, with the way Ohio State lost today, with Clemson losing today, that's 3 top 10 teams that are going to fall pretty significantly, at least 2 of them. And you've got a Kansas State team that, if they win, could easily jump into the top 10. And so from a resume perspective, I do think it would benefit the Frogs to play Kansas State as the number 8 or number 9 team in the rankings, because if the Frogs can pull off another victory, that'll simply seal the deal. But I think the chaos of today has really shown a lot of people that it's hard to win every single Saturday. And the fact that the Frogs went 12-0 in the regular season, capped their season with a win like they did tonight against an Iowa State team whose record is not reflective of the type of football team they are, that I think some national pundits are starting to change their tone about the Frogs already. We've been seeing it on social media. I know you guys have been doing the show. I've been on Twitter. And they're starting to say, okay, well, I think that regardless of the results next week, Georgia and Michigan and TCU are all probably already going to be in.
And I think you mentioned strength of resume. We talked to Mike Gola Jr. before on the pregame show. He gave us a little insight into the selection committee and what they value. And ultimately, strength of resume is a legitimate metric that they take into account. TCU right now is one. You imagine a win or even, God forbid, a loss to Kansas, a top 10 Kansas State, will keep them very, very high in strength of resume. And so to me, that absolutely plays into, the idea that TCU has room for error more than they've ever had the entire season, even more than they ever had in 14, more than they had ever at this moment right now.
Shout out to the Big 12 for adding a championship game. It's looking like it might play in TCU's favor. But, also, beating Texas again.
Sure.
It was great. I go back and forth, right? Because beating Texas for a second time would be a lot of fun. But also Texas not making the Big 12 championship for 5 consecutive years before they leave the conference would be pretty fun too.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. I've got some cousins who've been a little chippy from K-State, so I'm going to go ahead and ask that we play Texas for my sake. And before we even get to that game, because unfortunately we can't pick, we do have a couple of things going on this week here at Frogs Today. On Friday night, the Riff Ram Rally, 6 to 8 p.m. at the Kelly Center. We're going to be streaming that. I think all of us are going to be there. Yeah, we all RSVP'd. I believe so. I'm free. I cleared up my schedule. And then pregame and postgame show. Not sure where that's going to be yet. You're going to have to keep checking in on frogstoday.com to figure out where we're headed for that pre and post game Saturday before the Big 12 championship and after. But I swear we're going to be there. Anything else to add, guys?
We've got some pretty exciting plans kind of in the works for the pre and post game show. So I'm excited to drop that.
I'm in the dark on this one. Wow. And we've also always got some special shows coming up. Gonna plug myself, the best show in all of the land, Dissecting the Frogs.
Okay.
It airs Monday. Plug. Dave is also on that show. And if you didn't know, I didn't know if you just paid attention to me.
I do make a weekly appearance, and I appreciate it. We also have State of the Frogs with Brian Estridge and Coach Sonny Dykes on Tuesday nights. Wednesday and Friday, Frogs Today. Jamie and I do Facing the Frogs on Thursday.
That's a pretty good show. That's awesome.
And I make an appearance on that one as well,
guys.
which is nice.
All kinds of content coming out of Frogs Today.
Really, that's awesome. I hear we have some writers too. They hate him, but Jeff Wilson, he's a pretty good writer. He writes for us. So that's awesome. They didn't want him on the show. Anyways, we are going to go ahead and close out the show. TCU coming in with the victory over Iowa State. And we'll see you guys